Hello guys, my name is Michael and welcome to our third tutorial about GTK radio button widget. And today we are going to learn the last three functions which are provided for our radio button widget. And those three functions are GTK radio button get group, set group and join group. That being said, let us see what the manual says. And the manual says returns GS list linked list. So like I told you in another tutorial, please take a look about GS list and learn about it, those linked lists, because it is, and they are very important when you are working with GTK, and you need to know how you can work with this linked list. It is not something very special. It is a easy job done from glib to you, so that you have not you do not need to create your own linked list and double list and so on. Okay, so that being said, it returns a GS list, takes as parameter radio button, which is of GTK radio button type, and says returns linked list. You see, like I said, GS list containing all the radio buttons in the same group as radio button. The return list is owned by the radio button, and it's very important here, must not be modified or freed. So this means just think like that this one being something like a constant or something, and the memory, of course, you should not freed. Okay, so that being said, let's call this function. But before we call this function, we need, of course, to create a new button. GTK widget new radio button, and then we are going to say that the new radio button it will be pointed to GTK radio button new with mnemonic I will pass here null, and let's say another radio button. Okay, so basically this is what we are doing here. Now let's print it. So 0 left top 1. Let me run the program now before we proceed, just to be sure. I have a mistake here, says expecting before. Okay, 1, it's enough, we don't need 2. Okay, so that being said, I'm running the program now. As you can see, we have 2 radio buttons. Both are selected, of course are selected, because both of them, they have their own group. So this means we have no group here where the button belongs to, and so on. Okay, so now let's see, let's call the function GTK get group to find the group of this button. Okay, and said the manual says we need a GS list pointer. Okay, let's call it get group. It should be fine. And then we are pointing to the function, and this function takes one parameter, a GTK radio button pointer. That being said, we are casting to GTK radio button pointer, and we are going to pass our button. So now we found the radio group of the radio button, and once that we have it, we can use it with the next function, which is GTK button set group, and this function says returns void, nothing, so it takes two parameters. The first one is GTK radio button. It is the radio button which you are setting, and the second one is the group which we are applying to this button, so that this button belongs to a group, and sets a GTK radio button group. It should be noted that this does not change the layout of your interface in any way, so if you are changing the group, it is likely you will need to rearrange the user interface. Okay, so just remember this. Okay, the parameter of the GTK radio button, and the second one is the group, okay, which, as you can see here, an existing radio button group, such as one returning from GTK radio group, get group or null. So that being said, let's call this function. The first parameter is the radio, so GTK radio button. It is the first one, which is our new button, so this is basically the button, and the second one is the group, so in this case get group. So what we did here in these two lines, the first line gets the group where the radio button belongs to and put it in this group, and once that we have this group, when we were creating here a radio button with no group, we are basically calling this function GTK radio button set group, and once that we call this function, we said that to this button which has no group, set the group of the radio button group, and that the new radio button at this point belongs to the radio button group. I will compile and run the program now, and as you can see, this is basically what set and get group means, and this is basically what you need to do so that you can get and set a group. Okay, next thing, which is a little bit crazy here, it says GTK radio button join group. Okay, so we are done with these two functions, and now we are going to deal with radio button join group, and says joins a GTK radio group object to the group of another GTK radio button object. So this means use this in language bindings instead of the GTK radio get group and the GTK radio button set group. So basically, for my opinion, when you are creating your programs, don't use this, because you don't need it. Is enough for you to set and get groups. It is enough. But if you are trying to do something like this, then here you have also an example. A common way to set up a group, it is like this. You have two buttons, those two buttons which you have them for a particular condition they set here, then they are creating a button. You see, they have a button, it's just a button which has no group. It creates a default one. Once that this group which is here, which has basically no group, then it is called the function here and says less button its group which belongs to, put it now in the radio button. Once that you put in the radio button, point the radio button to the left button. It's a little creepy. Anyway, let's see how we can change it in somehow that we better understand it. If I can say this, I will just make let's say call to GTK radio button join group, and then because we have already a group of our source, which is in this case the radio button, as you can see here, the manual said parameters are the GtkRadioButton object and the group source, a radio button object whose group we are joining, so basically a radio button which has a group, or null to remove the radio button from its group. So this means with this function you can also remove that button from that group, you know. So just be careful when you work with this function. That's why I'm said before you work with this function, just use these functions here. Okay, so the first one was GTK radio button group, GTK radio button, which is our newly created button which has no group. And the second one, it is the group source, of course, from where our group needed, which in this case it is our radio button. So what did we just succeed now? In this program we were creating a button, and we let glib to create a group for you. So this means this button has no group. Once that we create this button, then we are creating a newly button which has also no group, and then because this one and this one has no group, we decide to join these two buttons so that this new radio button belongs to this radio button, its group, by calling GTK radio button join group, where we are putting its group to new radio button. I will compile it and run it. As you can see, it works fine. So basically they are together and they are working together. Just to be clear, I will comment out to show you that without sorry, I compile it, I run it, I need to compile it and run it. So this means because this one is commented here, basically they are now not linked together, so they are not joined together. So this means after we were calling GTK radio button join group, we basically link together those two buttons so that they are working in the same group. Okay, so that being said, this is about GTK radio button and its functions, and we learn about how we can work with these functions, all 6 of them. And now that we know how they are working, I think we can proceed with the next steps, which are CSS and signals. Okay, so that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share it with your friends and with your neighbors. Leave a comment if you have some questions. And that being said, until next time, thank you guys and see you then.